Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDad FF. I usually say joined as always by my main man, FFSnoog. He's on vacation. Filling in for him is the great Al Calo. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Really appreciate you having me. Appreciate Snoog letting me, take the seat for a day or two. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, for sure. We just passed 4,000 subs. We're well on our way to 5,000. So help us, reach that goal. Hit that subscribe button down below. Let's jump into this content. Al's been putting up great content in our Discord. We're going to go over this several times. But if you guys want to join, patreon.com/smash accept. If you use code Calo50, you'll get 50% off your first month. There's nothing better than being in that Discord this time of year. So, we'll get down to business on that kind of stuff a little bit later. But what we're doing today, we are talking to you about our 6 running backs to buy before it's too late. And Al, we get to this time of year, and at Smash Accept, we really talk about buying the quarterbacks, buying the wide receivers, making sure all those pieces are in place before we add the running backs. Now's the fun time. It's like, let's add these running backs. These are the guys that are, the salt of your teams, the spice that's really going to put you over the top. And I love buying running backs because it's just a fun last piece of the puzzle to put you over the top.
Yeah, I love it too. And especially right now when you get to look at, like, you're really diving into 2025 and impacts that these guys can have for this season. So I think when you look forward to next season, that's when you want to say, all right, am I contending? Because what do I need to get me over the top? And it's always those big top 12 running back performances that are going to get you there. So this is exactly when I look to buy all kinds of running backs because I feel like you can get them pretty solidly priced right now.
Yeah, and a lot of people are still doing their rookie drafts. Other ones are not. So, some of those we're going to talk about the equivalents of players. We're going to talk about trades for every single one. The first guy that I'm buying everywhere before it's too late is TreVeyon Henderson. TreVeyon Henderson right now is the super flex equivalent of the 105, 106. I've seen people get him in that 106, 107 area in your rookie drafts. And I think this guy is going to be an absolute stud. He has an ADP right now of 45 in your dynasty startups. He is RB10 on Dynasty Dad Al. He's my RB8 at this point. And Al, I mean, I love TreVeyon Henderson. 4.43 speed. You see him at camp. He looks like he got shot out of a rocket. This is the closest thing that we have in this draft. I mean, Ashton Genty is another level. But TreVeyon Henderson has that Jahmyr Gibbs light. He's that guy that 667 touches, 0 fumbles. He's super productive, super elite when it comes to pass production, super elite when it comes to ball security. And the best friend for a young quarterback like Drake May is a guy that's going to protect the ball and a guy that's going to protect his quarterback. And I think when it's all said and done, and I love Omarion Hampton and Quinshon Judkins, but I think TreVeyon Henderson has a floor unlike the other guys. He's going to get 50 plus receptions as a rookie. There's only been 7 guys to ever do it in the last 20 years. I think he becomes number 8 because TreVeyon Henderson is a elite pass catcher. He's going to be on the field all the time. I think a lot of people are worried about Ramondre Stevenson. Again, if you're worried about Ramondre Stevenson, you're not paying attention to TreVeyon Henderson. This guy is absolutely elite.
Yeah, and the best thing that I've been talking about all offseason is that this team was desperate for an injection of juice, and they went out and they got Kyle Williams and TreVeyon Henderson, and that's why I expect big things out of both of them in year one. And, a lot of times you don't think second-round running backs or third-round running backs can give you real production for 2025 that you can set and forget. But I think we got a handful of guys this year that are going to produce year one, and when they need big plays, which they're going to be, they're not a great team. They will be in some positive game scripts. They're going to need him on the field regardless of the down. So he's going to catch passes on first and second down. And like I said, they're not really going to be like grinding a ton with Stevenson in the second half of games. So I think he's going to be impactful immediately.
Yeah, let's check out some trades here. Right off the bat, I have a couple of them here that I really wanted to go over, get your insight on it. I know it's a little bit backwards to what I normally do, but let's start talking about some TreVeyon Henderson trades. I mean, the first one that I want to pull up here, you look at this trade and you say TreVeyon Henderson or a mid to late 26 first and a 27 second. Which side are you going here when it comes to a guy like TreVeyon Henderson?
Yeah, I'll buy TreVeyon for that all day because what I do and what I like to do in these kind of trades is you're paying an unknown, like a very unknown. So the 27 second to me is something that makes the trade look good for the other side, but in reality, that's something that I can very easily recoup back. So I'm not really going to like look at that to affect my future plans for my team. So
Yeah.
if I was willing to draft TreVeyon Henderson, he was my 105, then why wouldn't I trade a more unknown asset in a 26 first to just get him?
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, I think there's a couple of running backs in next year's class that are really talented. I still have Jeremiah Love over TreVeyon Henderson, but TreVeyon Henderson would be the RB2 in that class. He would have been the RB1 in last year's class. He is just that good. Another one here that I find very interesting, because you know that I've been really trying to push the envelope of trying to buy Marvin Harrison Jr. So I got a trade here of Marvin Harrison Jr. in a 27 second, or this one's gonna blow your mind. We're gonna go with TreVeyon Henderson, Emeka Ibuka, and a 27 first.
Oh yeah, I'll take TreVeyon and Ibuka all day. That's 3 firsts for Marvin Harrison. And
Exactly. And I think that's a trade you can get pulled off. I mean, I made a trade the other day and it had a lot of scrutiny in my league, but I gave up Saquon Barkley and Jacoby Myers, and I got TreVeyon Henderson in what looks like a mid 27 first. And you and I talk about it all the time. Those 27 firsts, the key to it all is projection. You know, you say, I always look at those trades and I say, if this is early, I'm going to smash this trade, because that 27 first, no matter what, early is going to be worth more than Saquon. Mid, I'm getting Henderson and that 27 first. I think it's fair. If it's late, I'm still right there on that same spot, you know, and I think really projecting into that 27 class is something huge. One more here, and I know, like I said, I'm going to be pitching them your way because I want to get your insight. I think the fans have heard enough about me talk about some of these players. Jonathan Taylor, who you're going to be going over it later in this show, and it says late 26 second, or TreVeyon Henderson and Jerry Jeudy. This one I thought was super interesting, because you're talking about, I love Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerry Jeudy, you know, he finished wide receiver 12. He's going to have a monster workload. You got Henderson there. Is this enough for you to move off of Jonathan Taylor? Which side do you like?
yeah, I think it definitely is. You know, you guys talk about it too, and you just did, but like Jerry Jeudy's a huge buy for me right now. I just released it was more redraft centric, but I just released like his ADP for this year is broken, and it's definitely broken in startup drafts right now too. So I think he's a good value, and I know you guys always talk about it. I think he's someone that could actually ascend in value, and you know, people don't like to think of him that way at all, but the Browns did nothing to not let him be their wide receiver one. So
Yeah.
you're buying a young wide receiver one that just got paid. So that on top of TreVeyon, when I could make an argument for TreVeyon over Jonathan Taylor immediately. So that's a free Jeudy for me.
That's the way I was looking at it. And I think that's how you disguise a trade, right? Like, so many people come to me and they're like, Dad, would you trade TreVeyon Henderson for Jonathan Taylor? And I said, don't do that. Like, I never make trades one for one. And I definitely don't do it at the same position. I start to look at that. So if he has TreVeyon Henderson, he wants Jonathan Taylor, then he clearly values him over that. There's no such thing as a 1-for-1 running back trade, right? That guy clearly prefers somebody else. So get a little bit more. Jerry Jeudy's worth that more than that random 27 second. You go ahead and do that. And I think Jerry Jeudy's one of those guys, everybody wants to try to find warts. They want to pretend that Cedric Tillman's the guy. They want to say David Njoku. There's too many mouths to feed, et cetera, et cetera. Jerry Jeudy is a smash. So next guy here for you, you know, your first guy, someone that honestly, I mean, it was a tale of two different players in 2024, but his production has been absolutely elite. So tell me about your first buy.
Yeah, my first buy is Achane, and like we've been talking about, it's really just like acquisition costs. So, like Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Ashton Genty, those guys are really the three that are clearly ahead of Achane for me in Dynasty. But his price is like significantly lower when it comes to like buying him right now. So I think you can actually buy him for like a full first cheaper than these other guys. And I don't really understand why. He's hyper productive because one thing that we know is Tua is going to get the ball out quick for this offense. We know that they want to try to fix the downfield stuff, but their offensive line debatably gets worse every year after being bad. So, you know, the one thing that they're going to do to protect the quarterback is give him free outlets. That's why we're seeing Spike Jonnu games. And then they're obviously going to get the ball to Achane because he's basically Tyreek Hill level speed, but as a running back. So he's going to be quick outlet throws. So his production really can't fade. There's no game script where he's not going to be useful. And there's no like point in the season where they won't be using him. No matter what the trajectory of their offense goes, he's the main staple for them. and you can get him, like I said, what I believe is significantly cheaper than the top tier guys.
Yeah, why don't you pull up some trades here? And then I want to really, you said something there that I thought was really important, something that in Dynasty, everybody, when Malik Neighbors pops off, when Jahmyr Gibbs pops off, when Bijan Robinson, Brock Bowers, you can't afford them. Unless you've built your team where we've talked about you have an embarrassment of riches, it's very difficult to buy players like that, where Achane literally was put up 0.93 fantasy points per game. It's him and Gibbs. Or when you talk about points per touch, they're right there, 0.93, 0.94, almost a full fantasy point per touch. The difference is Achane disappeared a little bit when Tua was missing. And the problem there wasn't 100% that there was no quarterback at all. Now they have Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson propped up Breece Hall when it came to dump offs, when it came to PPR points. And we saw Breece Hall as the RB2. And even if it's Quinn Ewers, we've seen him dump the ball off to running backs. We've seen them where the quarterbacks they had with Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley, and they fell off. They really hurt his game. So let's pull up some of these trades here when we talk about Achane. I love some of these ones, like this first one here. Achane or Josh Jacobs and Cortland Sutton. I like Sutton. He's going to finish as a wide receiver too. I like Jacobs. He's going to finish as a back-end RB1. But which side would you prefer in this particular trade?
Yeah, that's the exact one that I was focused on, because this is what we're doing here. We're trading guys with Jacobs is a great person to have on your team no matter what. But he's obviously getting a little long in the tooth touch-wise. So you're kind of taking two guys that are a little older in age and mileage, and you're getting what I consider to be a pure league winner in Achane. So that's the upside that you want to shoot for. And then obviously you're getting that for years to come. So I'm definitely buying the youth there as well. So I'll take Achane all day there. What about you?
Oh yeah, I'm smashing that one. I like Jacobs. I really do. I have Jacobs worth maybe the 108. I have Sutton worth, at maybe 204, but I'm not trading that for Achane right now. Is worth the 103. You could argue he's better than anybody at the 102. However, the allure of having the 102, whether that's Tet, whether that's Travis, whether that's Hampton for you, makes that 102 worth more than him. But the value is so much better. The next trade that's right under that, I kind of like this as well. Right now, Christian Watson, he's 5.5 months removed from that ACL surgery. He's running routes. You start to get that. Achane in the 104 or I'm sorry, Achane or Christian Watson in the 104?
Yeah, I'm taking Achane there. Watson's a nothing to me. So, and like you were just saying, I would pay the 102, 103 for Achane right now. Yeah. So if that's the way that I'm looking at it in general, then I'm paying pretty much any future first for him. You know what I mean?
Yep. I got two more interesting ones here because, first off, they're going to involve quarterbacks. The first one is Cam Ward and Trey Harris or Achane. So right now, a lot of people have come to me and say, hey, Dad, I got the 106, right? And I don't want Cam Ward. And I'm actually fairly bullish on Cam Ward. I really like the way he's throwing the ball at camp. I think him and Calvin Ridley are going to have a great connection. And I do like him a lot. I think I'm starting to warm up to him a little bit more. But if I have a situation where he's my QB4 and sometimes QB5, he's the best value at 106, hands down. There's other players. You can like Quinshon Judkins. You can like RJ Harvey. You can like Ibuka. But if Cam Ward falls to you at 106, that's like stealing. So would you trade Cam Ward and Trey Harris for Achane to go over the top?
Yeah, I definitely would. And the way that I kind of look at it is Cam Ward's my 106, and I value Achane at the 102. So would I trade a mid-second in Trey Harris to move up from 106 to 102? That's how I view it, and I would do that pretty easily.
100%. And a lot of people come to me and they say, let's play a little game here. I know 2025 drafts, we already know where they are, but if you had, I'm going to go over this. You take Achane or two random 26 firsts.
I think I'd be willing to pay that if I'm pure contender. But that's about what I'm paying for these top tier running backs at most. Yeah. So
I feel like I know the next answer, but Achane or two random 27 firsts.
I'll take the 27 firsts.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand the random 27 firsts are literally gold. that class from 1 through 7 right now is really hot. I mean, people aren't even buying in and understanding how good players like Cam Coleman are yet. Like, you're going to get some elite level prospects, some alpha type wide receivers, some legitimate quarterbacks. If you can get, and I know we talk about this, if it's truly random or truly mid, and you have your choice between 26 and 27, you make it 27. If
That's
it's
what I was
both
just gonna
late,
say.
if it's both late, then you can still take 26 because then you get that player and you can move back. What really starts to happen this time of year when everybody's talking 27s is, Dad, I just traded for a 27 second instead of a 26. No, that's dumb. Like, we're not doing that. Take your seconds. But if it's a mid to early to random, then get the 27 instead of the 26. And I know that's a little bit backwards from years past, but 2017, 2020, 2023, 2027 is going to be just like that.
Yeah, I think what we can do right now, though, is I don't know if there is such thing as a random 26 first. You can look at a team and of course you can't predict the future, but you can see if it's trending towards mid to late at this point, as opposed to like, hey, this has a shot to be a top 3 pick. That I think at least we're solid enough at trying to project unless a disaster happens. But the 27s are truly gold right now, like you said.
100%. The next guy, and I know a lot of people say, yo, Dad, you said he was a buy before the NFL draft or a sell before the NFL draft. And he was. Like, if you're talking about the fact that, a guy that got drafted where he did and came on late. If we talk about TreVeyon Henderson going to the Bengals, it's a totally different story. If Quinshon Judkins came there, sure, but they did not address the position. They only brought in Taj Brooks. So Chase Brown, to me, is one of the best, if not the best, dynasty running back buy for me. And what Al and I are trying to do is we're trying to give you one at the top, we're trying to give you one in the middle, and then we're going to give you a cheaper one in there. For me, my guy in the middle at that 107, right now he's RB16. Al, I have him as my RB12 right now, and I think in redraft, he is just, I'm going to own him on every single team I can because he was a volume hog in 2024. From weeks 9 through 17, he had 7 of his 8 games inside the top 13. 6 of those were inside the top 12, clearly. 5.6 targets per game. That's top notch. Like, that's Alvin Kamara type like usage. 20.6 fantasy points per game. That's the RB4. And people are drafting him right now. In redraft, he's the RB12. In Dynasty, he's the RB16. Just stop. Like, there's certain guys, we talked about Jerry Jeudy, where people are putting, disrespect on his name and trying to find warts and find things that happen. He almost had 1,000 rushing yards. He's receiving the ball where I could see him catch 60 plus balls. This is someone that I'm firmly in the camp of buying. And much like TreVeyon Henderson, if I'm trying to tear off of a Saquon Barkley, if you give me Chase Brown and a mid 27 first or even a mid 26 first, I'm making that kind of move right now because I think Chase Brown, call me crazy, I think Chase Brown puts up 80% of what Saquon Barkley can in 2025. And I mean, if you're all in, Saquon's my guy. So don't even try to quote and say he's not, Dad's crazy about this. But Chase Brown, I think he's a top 12 running back in 2025.
No, I agree with the 80% because, he's going to make his money in the receiving game. 100%. Saquon is not really going to catch a ton of passes. We know that for sure. And just the way that their offense runs. And I do think they're going to try to take a little workload off of him after having 400 carries. So I think that's actually a good trade to throw out. But yeah, Chase Brown is definitely, and I can actually speak even before we get into these trades. I actually sold Chase Brown relatively early in the offseason. And I'm totally cool admitting that I definitely wish I did not do that for what I did because like we talked about early in the offseason, we definitely expected him to get like a solid running mate. And the
even an Ollie Gordon or something.
And the other thing is they hosted like the top running backs before the draft. So then even in that pocket of time, I was still selling him and it's now obviously looks stupid. But I sold him for the 112 and the 210 early in the offseason. And that turned into Ibuka and Jalen Noel. Obviously, I would buy Chase Brown. I think it was Chase Brown and a third. I would obviously buy Chase Brown and a third for Ibuka and Noel at this point. So
what's nice about it is even after the fact that it happened, the price hasn't gone up crazy. I mean, the first one here, Would you rather have Chase Brown or Jameson Williams? And I love Jameson Williams. I mean, one of the only wide receiver to be under 80 targets and have over 1,000 yards. But I mean, if you're choosing between a guy that is a fringe wide receiver 2 or a guy that's going to finish as an RB1, are you taking Chase Brown or Jameson Williams?
These are like my favorite trades to make. Is I just know that I'm going to get like week winning upside with Chase Brown that I can count on weekly. But the aura of Jameson Williams, is always going to be like the young receiver. He's already getting hyped before training camp starts. Like these are the league winning moves that I love to cash in on. Is like you stockpile these youthful wide receivers and then you consolidate your roster, like you guys say all the time, into points.
I like this next trade because we talked about it before. I mean, I have Chase Brown's worth the 107. Okay, so like we talked about it with the other trade where you were getting Judy at a discount because you did that 1-for-1. So this one's Joe Mixon, the 107 and the 27 third, or George Pickens, Chase Brown, and Wan'Dale Robinson.
What was the first side?
Joe Mixon, the 107, and the 27 third. So the way I was looking at this one in particular is Chase Brown is 107 or better. Then you got your choice of Pickens versus Mixon or a third versus Wan'Dale. And I mean, I think you're basically in this situation, you're getting George Pickens at a discount.
Yeah, I agree. I would definitely rather have Pickens. And that's, I think, the best way to look at it. That's exactly how I would look at it too. And that's how I always look at these is you're buying points. Like you're getting points on your team. And the other thing about Chase Brown is at the worst, you can flip him mid to late in the season. So if he's not value to your team and you're worried about his longevity, this is a price you'll always be able to get. Like you said, it's not like he's peaked right now. His peak in season could actually be like the 104, honestly, at this point.
I think so too. Yeah. And the next one, and this is a trade I love to make, but Chase Brown in a second or Josh Jacobs?
Yeah. I mean,
it's on the wrong side, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. You're buying youth and you're buying the offense.
What if we flip that around? Because this is, again, where there's a situation where you talk about this player or this player. So I have them very similar as far as, they're within 3 or 4 spots of each other. So if it was Josh Jacobs in a second, is that a trade you would take? Would you take the Jacobs side or would you take the Chase Brown?
I think that's what I would sell Chase Brown for personally, because I think, I think Chase Brown just has an easier window to not be a workhorse. Like I think Josh Jacobs is going to be a workhorse until the wheels fall off.
100%, especially in a PPC league, and we talk about those 0.25 points per carry. When you have those type of players, they go off. They're crazy amounts of points. Guys, again, putting that up there, patreon.com/SmashAccept. You guys all know the drill with that. But if you use code CALO50, you'll get 50% off. You've been in there. I mean, you've been answering questions in Calo's corner. You've been doing these things. I mean, tell people, I always tell them, and everybody's like, Dad, you're biased, but you've been in other Dynasty Discords. You've been around in the industry, doing writing for several different sites. I mean, tell everybody what the biggest takeaway from in that Discord that people are going to enjoy.
Oh, the biggest takeaway for me is like everything in there is extremely actionable. So like we're doing now and like everybody can do, you can have normal discourse about these players and you can say like, oh, buy this guy, buy that guy. But league to league, it changes widely. But in that Discord, you have the equivalents are amazingly actionable. And you guys do a great job of hitting pockets of when to buy, when to sell, when to move, how to move up and down rookie drafts. It's just like everything is super actionable. So obviously I've chopped it up with you guys for a long time now. So the way that you guys think is just something that drew me to the brand. And me being in there has been really awesome, just like giving advice, and people just don't sleep in there, man. You can get content all day long in there. These people are trading. I'm like waking up to trades in the middle of the night. It's just like, you just love to be a part of hundreds of sickos just like you.
Yeah. I mean, it's grown. I say this every month, but this has been our best month, honestly. And I had a guy the other day who's in there all the time, and he left, and I messaged him. I said, hey, what's going on, buddy? I know you're always in there. He goes, dude, I almost lost my job. I'm just so excited with trying to get in there, trying to talk. He's like, I got a good job. I can't lose it. So it's like, it's addictive getting in there, talking shop. A lot of you guys are degenerates like us, where, patreon.com/SmashAccept. for as little as $5 a month. And if you use, Al's code as Calo50, you get in there for $250. Like, that's cheaper than a cup of coffee. Try us out. If you don't like it, you spent $250. I always say it's money back guarantee. I've yet to actually give anybody their money back. So hit me up with your next guy, number 4 here on Jonarhan Taylor. You had already talked about the equivalents. We talk about he's my super flex equivalent of the 105. So I don't know if I'd trade him if the 105 came calling. I love TreVeyon Henderson. I have Henderson above Taylor, but Jonarhan Taylor is a beast.
Yeah, so I actually picked Jonarhan Taylor for like the middle guy because I actually think your equivalent is what I have him at. But I think in like your home dynasty leagues and like most dynasty leagues that people are playing in, like you can get him for the 105 at the snap of a finger. I think you can genuinely get him for less. And we'll look at some trades, but like right now, I just think there's a general stigma about the Colts that is making their entire team a buy for me. You're seeing a lot of talk about Josh Downs as a buy. Michael Pittman has just been forgotten about as an NFL wide receiver. He played through like a broken back last year. And then Tyler Warren, I think, has been one of the best values in all rookie drafts this year. There's just something about the Colts that people are depreciating their assets. So basically, the way that I'm viewing it is you're going to buy a dip. There's a dip in the offense entirely, and that stems strictly from Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. So people don't love to see the fact that they signed a quarterback and said, yeah, we want competition. And the competition is between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. That's obviously just going to be like, I don't want players on that offense. But I think we're getting name fatigue at the same time with Jonarhan Taylor.
100%.
We don't want him on a bad team. He misses a couple of games every year, and it's just like But you look at how he finished last year, and I think you're going to see more of the same. I saw a stat that was like he averages like 130 total yards in their wins, and that's exactly the recipe to success for this team. And you're not looking at a solidified coaching staff in Indianapolis. The GM may be on the hot seat, and the coach is definitely going to be on the hot seat if we have another losing season. What are we going to do? Are we going to have Daniel Jones throw the ball 35 times a game, or are we going to feed one of the true workhorses in the NFL? So I'm obviously buying workload no matter what when I buy players like this. And that's why he's just a buy right now for me, because I think his price is less than what you have his equivalent at.
I agree. I do that as my own personal, but league to league, it's a little bit different. I mean, he has 15 touchdown upside, and I did not run out of the door because I didn't agree with your take. I had to take care of something there. But honestly, he has 15 touchdown upside year in and year out. 51 touchdowns in just 67 games. And despite that ankle injury last year, 321 touches, 1,567 total yards, and 12 touchdowns. Now he's fully healthy. I like the way he ended over those last couple of weeks. He was a league winner for people, and now you're getting him cheaper. Like, please. There was a time where he was the RB1, RB2 in Dynasty. Now we're just trying to, like you said, we have name fatigue. We're trying to find warts in a player that doesn't exist. This first trade, T. Higgins in the 112 or Jonarhan Taylor, Jameson Williams, and the 208.
Yeah, I'll take Jonarhan Taylor. I think that's, like you said, that's the 105. Jameson Williams is what, a late first right now. And then the 208. So you're paying that to move up to the 112 with T. Higgins. So yeah, I think that's, and like I've been talking about, that's a lot of points that you're getting at the same time. So the first and the second, what is that, a 9-spot difference? But then there's a lot more points coming from Jonarhan Taylor and Jameson Williams than there is T. Higgins.
People don't pay attention to points. They want sexy rosters. This next one is going to be interesting. Ladd McConkey or Jonarhan Taylor and a random 27 first.
I was actually just looking at that one and like sweating at the thought of you asking me that one. Because...
It's interesting, right? Because I mean, I know people are like, Dad, this is generic. If it's early, it's Taylor. If it's mid, if it's fair. If it's late, it's Ladd. And I know some people like that risk of trying to make those decisions to try to figure out, what do I have to do to make that? For me, it's like when it's random, there's a lot of wide receivers in that class that will be better than Ladd McConkey. As much as I love Ladd McConkey, I mean, Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman, I mean, TJ Moore, there's some wide receivers that have Ladd McConkey plus upside.
And I think
But
it's a good spot. Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing that I want to just reiterate. And I tell people this in the Discord all the time. Just because you're getting this 2027 first, it doesn't mean that no matter what, you're going to pick at that spot when you have that
yes,
first. These are
yeah,
assets that you like. Let's say it takes you not much more to get from this random first to Ryan Williams, like you said, or I don't know about Jeremiah Smith, but to get up into that like top 3, top 4, those are the moves that you're going to make later on. So I have no problem saying Jonathan Taylor is going to outscore Ladd McConkey this season. I wouldn't be surprised, or I wouldn't be mad at you if you said he's going to score more points than him next season. So this is what I mean. You're getting points on your team to win a championship, which is always the goal for me. Value is value, but then you just get a first. So you're getting the points, you're getting the first. Exactly.
And that 27 first is so hot. You can buy. There are only about 15 wide receivers who you can't just buy randomly for a 27. So you'd be able to go ahead and buy a wide receiver that's going to put up those, 70% of what Ladd McConkey does. This trade I love, and I know he's one of your guys too, but James Cook and the 205 are Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, that's the exact trade I'm looking to make. That's Jonathan Taylor easily for me.
Yeah. And I mean, because James Cook, had a phenomenal season, right? It was hyper productive, not the type of productive, per touch basis that you're going to see. However, you throw in that second, even if that's the 201, I'd really consider doing it because Jonathan Taylor is the workhorse. What else do they have right there? They got DJ Giddens, who I like a lot. Yeah, I really do, but he's not someone that's going to eat into Jonathan Taylor's workload. Ray Davis, I think, will eat into James Cook workload more, and we have the uncertainty. We have the uncertainty of contracts. That changes everything. We have the Bills, as much as I love them, do not have the same offensive line that the Colts do. So there's a lot of things that really go into play on
he
that
plays
one.
50. He plays 50% of snaps. So even just that alone, like I said, you're looking at a true every down workhorse in Jonathan Taylor. And there's just a little bit of unknown with James Cook. And just in a general rule of thumb, I'm always trying to sell guys that had like 20 touchdowns, like because they're going to be at their peak for sure. And he had 18. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And the years before that, it was 2 and 2, so like if he falls into 12, that's great, and I'm perfectly fine with that. The next guy that I like here, and he's been my buy for years, honestly, because the value hasn't changed for like 3 years, because we had him and he had a great season. Then Trey Benson gets drafted. Now all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, Trey Benson's going to eat into his workload. Trey Benson had 63 rushing yards in 2024. It was next to nothing. Now I like Trey Benson as a stash, but James Conner now, you look over the last 3 years, has averaged 12 touchdowns per season, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, second in missed tackles forced I know he's turning 30 years old, but I don't care. Production is production. 11th in yards after contact, 7th in receiving yards per game, 6th in explosive run rates. These are not things that you expect from a guy that is 30 years old, but you don't expect that from Derrick Henry. And you don't expect that. We are getting to an area where players last longer. They're much better shape of their body. They are taking care of business. And James Conner just continues to be one of the cheapest, most productive. And I know you're about to cover your cheaper production guy as well. And I believe in him too. But ADP of 112 at RB 29, you're hard pressed to find 29 running backs that you would prefer over James Conner. And a lot of people come to me. I've been drafting him. If I'm punting, I still draft James Conner. If I'm contending, I draft James Conner. If I'm rebuilding, I want James Conner because everyone's going to want production. Everybody wants those players that put up points. James Conner will be that. Listen, some of these trades, they make me actually sick for whoever made them because I just get upset. Like James Conner or Christian Watson in a 26th third.
That's free.
What's Christian Watson at this point? Like, this is how you do it. I see James Conner for a 27 second, James Conner for a 25 second, James Conner for a 6 second. I even see one on here, James Conner for a 28 second. Come on, like, stop. James Conner, I understand when you want to rebuild. If you have a James Conner, you pair James Conner with another wide receiver and you get a player. There's another trade on here I kind of like that I think is literally perfect for both sides. Is Jalen Waddle and James Conner or Rico Dowdle a third and a random 27 first. That's if you're using James Conner, you do James Conner a second for a first. You pair him with a Jalen Waddle, who's, and you get a first. You find a way to improve your pick, but you don't just trade him randomly for a random second. I think James Conner in season will always get you more points, more production, more value, just like this next guy. And you're a guy here, and I think you always have to mention both these guys in the same breath because they're hyper productive. The only difference between James Conner and Aaron Jones is always seen as a more of an injury liability. However, this past year he was not, and he balled out.
I'm very passionate about this one, so I apologize if I get fired up. But first and foremost, he just had 1,500 yards and finishes the RB15 like literally months ago. Like he just did that this season. Then he immediately got extended by the same team for up to $20 million. Like we're not talking like a Najee Harris extension or contract. We're talking like, wow, this guy was amazing. Lock him up. Then they proceeded to immediately go bolster the interior of their offensive line. So all these things are just value up, value up, value up. But his age, people will not get over it. And it matters when you are making risky moves. Like James Conner, no risk at all in acquiring. Aaron Jones, debatably less risk. He's the freest that I've ever seen this production.
But when you buy Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley, you're paying up. And when that injury occurs, their value dips, right? But Aaron Jones, you're paying nothing. And like I said before, last year, the only guys that get 250 touches with 50 receptions, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Aaron Jones. And right now, you can get Aaron Jones in a 27 first for Christian McCaffrey. Like you give up McCaffrey and you get Jones plus that first, you insulate, you get that same way. And I mean, just looking at this, he has a PPR machine from 2019 to 2025. You look at 49, 47, 52, 59, 46, 51, 58. If he plays, he catches 50 passes. How many running backs are an absolute lock to catch 50 passes?
And it's they have JJ McCarthy now. So it's just they need the running back in the passing game. They bolster their interior offensive line. They're going to run the ball with JJ McCarthy. They don't want him throwing 35 times a game. It's the easiest path to production that nobody wants.
Yeah, I'll take him everywhere. So let's pull up some trades here. I mean, there's the basic ones of Aaron Jones straight up for a 27 second or a 26 second. How about a 28 second and a 28 third for Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason? Now, we both know that Aaron Jones' value has gone up because they did not draft a Caleb Johnson or a big time running back in this class. But Jordan Mason's value also has to be going up as the now heir apparent with a contract where if Aaron Jones were to go down, Jordan Mason has the same kind of upside. We saw what he did in San Francisco. So are you making this trade, Jones and Mason, for a second and a third?
Yeah, I'm making that trade all day. And, you bringing up Mason is a good point. But along those same lines, he's valued higher than Aaron Jones, certain spots. I know he's going within a round of him in redraft, and that makes me actually angry. So just because he got traded to the Vikings and is a little bit younger, I mean, this guy has been an NFL backup for the majority, for his career. So why are we knocking Aaron Jones because Jordan Mason went there? That part doesn't make any sense to me. If you can acquire both, then that's you just locking up an RB1 no matter what the circumstances. So to pay this price, that's easy.
The last two are smash accepts for me. I mean, Aaron Jones, a 26 and a 27 second for Josh Jacobs. First of all, Josh Jacobs isn't worth 2 firsts to me. Even if you replace this, we talked about Devon Achane. If that's Achane and Aaron Jones in a 26 and 27 first, I'm taking Aaron Jones. I feel like the only guys that Aaron Jones and 2 firsts are not worth are Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. That's it. I correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I feel.
No, I was going to ask you that one is a smash, but you would do that. Would you do it for just 127 first? Because that's what I was going to post to. And that's
100%.
Those are the trades that you guys preach. And that's what I love that philosophy because
the Jacobs, Kyron, Cook, McCaffrey, give me a 27 first and Aaron Jones for any of those guys in that range. I told you how much I love Chase Brown. Give me Aaron Jones in the 27 first. He's yours. Exactly. Even if it projects late, because we're talking about 2 years away, and then Derrick Henry retires, and this guy gets hurt, or that guy gets hurt. And the last one here, I mean, DeAndre Swift or Aaron Jones in a 26 second. I love Swift. I really do this year. I think that just like Jones, he avoided any major competition. But I think if I can get a second on top of that, I got to take Aaron Jones.
And I actually think his stance in the league is way more volatile than Aaron Jones. There's a chance DeAndre Swift is nothing next year more than Aaron Jones. He'll be something until he retires, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Hey, this has been fun. You know what I mean? It's Snoog's my boy. We're always on here. We're doing this. This is the first time you and I got to truly chop it up, and we've been talking for years. We had discourse via text, via the Discord. But this has been a great show. Again, we talked about Al is in the Discord, patreon.com/smash accept. You pay there. That is just the shell to get you into the Discord. He has a section in there. There's chat with Dad, chat with Snoogs. All of our dynasty redraft. We're going to be in start sit situations. I mean, it's the place to be right now. Again, Al, this has been fun. I want you to tell everybody where they can find you, because you post on Twitter, you do things on the Substack. You got a lot going on in the industry, and we really appreciate it.
No, man, this was a blast. I always love chopping it up with you, and I know everyone is going to take what you say as good, actionable advice. So being on here with you, I really do appreciate it. But yeah, definitely check me out on Twitter. I'm always going through this kind of stuff, especially getting into 2025. We're building championship rosters over in the Discord, no question about it, for 2025, because that's always the end goal. So follow me there. I'm at Calo, CALO_football. And then I have my own Substack, Calo Football Substack. So that's calofootball.substack.com, posting everything, dynasty rankings, redraft, always down to talk. In Kalo's corner, as well as over on the Substack. So I appreciate you having me, man. This was a blast.
This was a lot of fun. Hey, guys, make sure you guys follow him. Thanks again for tuning in, and enjoy the process. What's your favorite?